Lesson 2 for October 5 to 11, Nehemiah, read by Dr. Percy Harold. Wednesday, October 9, Nehemiah sent. The king sent letters with Nehemiah to Sanballat the Horonite and to Tobiah the Ammonite, the high officials of the region beyond the river, in order to pave the way for what Nehemiah was to accomplish. Accordingly, the king commanded Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, to provide Nehemiah with all the timber necessary to rebuild the city, walls, and the gates of the temple. Question. Read Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. What do these verses tell us about the opposition Nehemiah and the Jews in general were about to face? Nehemiah 2, beginning at verse 9. Then I went to the governors in the region beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard of it, they were deeply disturbed that a man had come to seek the well-being of the children of Israel. Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem sometime in the second part of the year 444 BC. Opposition appears to spring up even before Nehemiah attempts any action, as the request delivered to the governors stirs up problems. Although Tobiah is a Jewish name, which meant the Lord is good, his son Jehohanan also carried a Jewish name, the Lord is gracious. He served as a governor of Ammon. Thus, Jerusalem was surrounded by enemies. Sanballat, the governor of Samaria to the north, Tobiah, the governor of Ammon to the east, and Geshem, the Arab, to the south, who took hold of Edom and Moab. Read more about Geshem the Arab in Nehemiah 2, verses 18 and 19. And I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me. So they said, Let us rise up and build. Then they set their hands to this good work. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us, and said, What is this thing that you are doing? Will you rebel against the king? It is unfortunate that the leadership in that region shunned Nehemiah for being concerned about the well-being of the oppressed. Bullies don't rejoice over the good fortune of those they intimidate. Ellen White writes in Prophets and Kings, page 635, Nehemiah's arrival in Jerusalem, however, with a military escort, showed that he had come on some important mission, excited the jealousy of the heathen tribes living near the city, who had so often indulged their enmity against the Jews by heaping upon them injury and insult. Foremost in this evil work were certain chiefs of these tribes, Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian. From the first, these leaders watched with critical eyes the movements of Nehemiah and endeavoured by every means in their power to thwart his plans and hinder his work. So to finish today, what other biblical stories can you find that showed how those called by God to do his will faced opposition? Bring your answers to class on Sabbath. This week's lesson has been read by Dr. Percy Harold from Queensland, Australia. It is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and through the services of Christian Services for the Blind. A video of this podcast also occurs on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.